Oh, baby. Friday, October the 17th. We're recording this at 10:02 in the morning. It is the All 30 pod with yours truly, Mike Giardi, a proud member of the CLNS Media Network. And, of course, brought to you by the number one daily fantasy sports app in North America. That would be PrizePicks, Andrew. Use the code CLNS once you download the app to get 50 in lineups when you play your first $5 lineups. PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. And, yes, the man alongside me, one Andrew Hart, the host thing one of the afternoon show on WEEI from 2 to 6, also former Patriots Football Weekly, Patriots.com, one half of the Stadler and Waldorf crew with Paul Perillo, and that is the great Andy Hart. Andy, thanks for being here.
So PrizePicks is where it's good to be right. Is that what you said? I
Yes.
feel like I belong there then because I'm right a lot. So I should.
I was actually going to segue, and then I decided to be nice and say, and now here is Andy Hart, who is rarely, if ever, right alongside.
I like to say genius walks alone, and then the rest of the crowd joins me later.
A quick little nitpick before we get into this. This is going to be a fun episode, surprises, disappointments, etc. from the Patriots season. Are you the last man alive who has a Hotmail email account?
I don't think so, because if you want to one-up me, if you've ever interacted with Steve Buckley, I believe he still has an AOL email address. But I'm not. Why change it? It's worked for me forever. Why? I don't like change. I don't need change until they pull it. Because I think actually, if you sign up for the service now, it has like a different. It's like at Outlook.com or something like that. But no, I don't like change, so therefore I won't change until somebody forces me to change.
Oh, well, look at you. Andy Hart digging his heels in on hotmail.com.
I'm actually going by demand today. I don't know if you can see that on your screen. I'm demand, so that's what I logged in as. Please refer to me as such.
I can see that, and that is also concerning. Before we get into some of these different things I want to go through, just your thoughts on this weekend. Patriots at Tennessee, Mike Vrabel, John Stryker, Todd Down. I mean, the whole freaking building is basically going back to Tennessee. Any chance they don't try to run it up and win like 100-0?
I think they would love to. I absolutely think, Mike Vrabel is an emotional guy. I mean, he walked into last week's locker room and turned that bleep up kind of attitude. And all football coaches, for the most part, are. Like I was talking about yesterday on our show, back in the day, a trip to the New York, take on the Jets, and the Patriots win, and waiting for the elevator as every assistant coach yells, "Take that, Mangini, stick that, New York." Like, they're emotional, and they work hard, and they invest a lot, and I get it, and they should be. My one issue here is, and I hope they're not worried about revenge or running it up. I don't think they're good enough, honestly, to worry about revenge. Or if the opportunity presents itself,
sure,
could something pop up in the fourth quarter? But until then, like, you had a nice win in New Orleans last week. You didn't blow them out. If New Orleans doesn't kick field goals in what I newly found out is the gray area, Ted Johnson told me, in the 30-yard line range. If they don't kick field goals, who knows how that game is going? That was a football math 7 beats 3 kind of game. So do I think players want to do it for their guy? I think they love Mike Vrabel. That is my one biggest takeaway from this season. This team loves its football coach, and that includes the assistant coaches. So I think everybody might be invested on trying to make him look good in front of Amy Adams Strunk so he could have his, Roger Clemens, Dan Duquette moment, maybe stare her down wherever her owner's box is. But I'd worry about just playing clean football and winning the football game first.
Yeah, it's interesting because everybody's getting ahead of themselves because they're winning football games, right? Which is something we have not experienced in the last couple of years, and the dysfunction of even 3 or 4 years ago, as Belichick's era sort of wound down, and it's now like you're putting the cart before the horse, if you will. The Saints, Spencer Rattler looked pretty damn good for the better part of 4 quarters. Like, it was the very end, maybe they came down. Chris Olave, who may get traded, and is, as Nick Underhill told me last week from New Orleans Football, he's the best player on that football team. He had 3 balls in his hands that the best football player in your team is supposed to make, and he didn't make them. And if he makes them, one's in the end zone, there's a big drop on 3rd down. Like, who knows? The way Drake was playing, he might erase it anyways. But, like, they were definitely in a serious dogfight. Tennessee is on a lower level than New Orleans, but who knows? Again, you're establishing the program, but the program is not fully established by any stretch.
And it's not just us that, and by us, I mean New England media, like, because I'm definitely enjoying the hell out of this. I've said I'm not going to pump the brakes. I've lived through 4+ crappy. Are we allowed to swear on here? I almost just did. I won't.
You can go for it.
4+ crappy football seasons, like not entertaining football, not competitive, 4-win seasons. So I'm not going to pump the brakes. I'm going to like shift into 6th gear and keep going. But I got one of those emails this morning that the Patriots spread is the highest bet this week, both in terms of tickets placed and handle. So it's not just Boston, New England, Patriot Nation. People are buying into the Patriots and Drake Maye and Mike Vrabel and the revenge, and also how bad I think the Titans are. But also there's that unknown of Mike McCoy is now the head coach. Are they a little different? Were they a little harder to prepare for? What are the changes? Is he a QB offensive whisperer? Does he fix Cam Ward, who is, what did he say? If we're keeping it 100, we're trash, or whatever the hell he said.
We ass.
Okay, I cleaned it up. But ass, maybe they're not ass this week. And he's been ass. 55% completion percentage, 60 QB passer rating. But like everybody has jumped on the Patriots bandwagon. It's not just us. And I'm not quite, that old 59-0 game. This team is not that team. It's not Brady and Moss. And if we want to prove a point to a bad team or a player or whatever, Anthony Smith, if we want to F around and find out, if you F around, you might find out you're on the wrong end of the scoreboard.
Yeah, I had 2 things that I wrote about in Boston Sports Journal this week. One, the change to McCoy sent Vrabel sending some of his people scrambling. Like, you got to go back in the archives. This guy was out of football for 5 years, 6 years, like just came back this year. And he had opportunities. He spent time with his family. And he in fact, he gave a very emotional press conference in his inaugural or first press conference there after being named the interim coach about what that sort of meant to him, but hasn't been a head coach since 2017, 2018, whatever it is. So it's been a long time since he's been in charge. Mike did mention, like there might be some more fakes and trick plays in this guy's bag. Would also make sense because the team isn't very good, and he's now coaching for. Can I prove to them that I deserve the job full time? Even after being on the sideline for a while. And then your other point is the ignore the noise thing, which is every coach uses it, but that was one of Mike Vrabel's chief points to his football team when he met with them this week was people are starting to talk about you. People are starting to say things about you. It's nice that they're talking about you this way, but don't believe it. Don't take the rat poison, as Nick Saban would say, right? So
yeah, and I thought that was clear with Stephon Diggs and his message, "Don't drink the Kool-Aid." I think it was clear when Drake Maye in his press conference kind of accidentally mentioned playoffs and then was asked and was like, "Yeah, I got a little ahead of myself there. I shouldn't have said that," kind of mentality, and they shouldn't. And last night's game, but I don't know if. Bad timestamp podcast, Andy. Sorry, used to daily radio. But you had the Bengals and the Steelers, and I thought that game was interesting relative to the Patriots in a unique way. Like Pittsburgh, that's a regression game. I don't care. That's a bad loss. I don't care what Flacco's been there 2 weeks, and you lost to Joe Flacco and the Bengals. That's a bad loss for Pittsburgh after you'd laid a nice foundation for yourself. And I know a lot of us weren't buying into Pittsburgh, but that just validated our not buying into Pittsburgh. And then on the Bengals side of things, it's like, we're not dead yet. Flacco can throw the ball. Patriots fans, that might be a game you might think is no Joe Burrow, no problem. You might revisit that. And in this year where everybody's 4-2, like literally the whole league is 4-2, you've already kind of had your 2 slip-ups, in my opinion, with the Raiders and the Steelers. You can't afford another slip-up. So I think some of those messages are as hard as they can be to deliver as a coach. I think there's valid points you can put on a screen and players will be like, "Oh yeah, that's a good point. We're not really that far ahead of any. We could fall apart really quickly." Like, I think it's an easy message to sell. And when you have one of your best players, Stephon Diggs, leading the way, that helps as well.
Yeah, there's absolute proof that he can put on the whiteboard or the projection screen or whatever and say, like, look at what happened this past week, and he'll probably sit there next week and you'll be able to do the same thing because there'll be results that we can't quite figure out. And the Bengals one is interesting too, because obviously you have them down on your schedule in December. Burrow's probably not back by then if he comes back, but I guess there's an outside shot that he is. But if the Bengals lost last night and lose another one, maybe Trey Hendrickson is gone at the deadline. Right. Maybe Chase Brown, they're running, whatever. Maybe they just move pieces because they say it's not happening with this group. We're going to turn it over. We're going to get some draft capital and we're going to move on. You win a game, maybe you win another one, and now all of a sudden it's like, well, Joe's coming back, and like, why would we do this? Like, this is how we built it. We wanted Hendrickson and Higgins and Chase and Burrow. Why break it up when we still have an opportunity to get to the playoffs? All right, let's turn to some fun games here. I want to ask you the biggest surprise of the season thus far. Again, we're only through 6 weeks. We can't say it's the quarter pole. We can't say it's 33rd percent because of the stupid 17-game schedule, but close enough. 6 games through, biggest surprise for your New England Patriots.
And I'm guessing you don't want me to say Bad Bunny announced as the halftime show at the Super Bowl.
No, I definitely don't want you to do that.
Did you sign the George Strait petition? My guy, King George. Okay, let's move on.
King George. No, I don't. I did not.
The biggest surprise for me is the guy I just mentioned that's leading the way on the field and then seemingly leading the way at his microphone on Wednesdays. And that's Stefon Diggs. And I was dubious. First of all, I thought he'd be on PUP. Second of all, I thought he'd be the typical wide receiver. Yeah, you're on the field, but you don't look quite right. You're Wes Welker when he caught 80 balls instead of his usual 110 balls kind of season. And that has not been Stefon Diggs. He has been a revelation on the field in terms of the playmaking, the clear fact that he is the most comfortable, experienced wide receiver on the roster, which he is. I mean, he should look like that, but his ability to settle in zones, to scramble, that play that, is probably one of the biggest highlights in the NFL this year, like that, or both of them. Like, you need a deep play, it was Stefon Diggs. You're getting dragged down and need to unload it in the flat. Hey, that's Stefon Diggs too. He's everywhere. He's the coolest kind of thing. And then off the field, I mean, way off the field, there's some stuff hovering on social media, but I kind of push that to the side and just, sort of evaluate him on when he's at Gillette Stadium, when he's with the team, when he's in front of a microphone. All of that has been captain worthy, perfect worthy, number one wide receiver worthy. And now you have an offense that, as an offshoot of that, because he's been their best receiver, their most efficient receiver, popular target, as an offshoot of that, now other guys are making plays, and you got Drake Maye completing 75% of his deep balls and doing things that just really shouldn't be done. And I think Steph Diggs is in the middle of all of this success for Drake Maye and everything they've done. So I was dubious of the signing, and so was the league, by the way, because no one else wanted Steph Diggs. And now there's probably other teams saying, boy, that would have looked good in our locker room and on our game tape.
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting because of what happened in the spring and the whole boat thing. And they thought he was going to be around more during OTAs, and he wasn't. And I think there was a moment there where I don't want to call it a come to Jesus, but like, hey, when we signed you, we talked about X, Y, and Z, and thus far we're not getting X, Y, and Z. And the next time he showed up to start training camp, business took center stage for him. And he has been, I think, I've said it on your program when I appear on Fridays, like he's been, to me, he's been the biggest individual surprise, no questions asked about it. His play has helped elevate the quarterback. It's helped elevate the guys around him. It's given Drake that, like, to your point, it's like that third down. I got to have a guy, right? He's got a guy. He's got a guy who, even in the first few weeks when he didn't have the same explosiveness that we saw in Buffalo or we saw against Carolina, where it was like he still knows where the sticks are. He still finds a way to get open. And even if you weren't getting the run after catch, you were moving the chains, and that was critical to him. For me, the biggest surprise has been the win in Buffalo, which is more of a big picture thing. I thought that was going to be a close game. I thought it was going to be an exciting game. I thought they were going to be able to trade punches with them. And basically that's the second half. The first half was a little bit muddied up and ugly. I just didn't think they were ready to win that game yet. And maybe we're finding out now is that Buffalo then lost to Atlanta, that Buffalo has a little bit more holes than we expected as we looked at them at 4-0, but that doesn't take away from going in there with a young football team and a first-year head coach and winning in that environment, because I was there and it was nuts. The whiteout was like everybody got involved, and it was deafening from, before the game even started until the very end, and they stood up to it. And when you're talking about a roster that's turned over more than 50% of its guys, I think that was really impressive. And to me, it was that game, Andy, that changed my entire outlook on what the season could be. And, I was the 8 wins guy. And when you're at 8, you could, things could go your way and you could win 10. You could also lose a guy or two and then you win 6. But that's where I had them. And now all the talk about the schedule and how easy it was is playing out. And it's like, okay, you went into Buffalo and beat Buffalo. You don't really have any excuses now. You've raised the bar for me and what I think this team's able to accomplish. So that to me was the biggest thing thus far. Give me
Can I just mix in real quick before
shoot.
We both, I think, looked past a candidate for the answer. Because I think we both liked the player and had high expectations, but Drake Maye has exceeded everyone's expectations. I mean, the fact that Drake Maye, we had Brian Hoyer on, very polarizing question of, is Drake Maye a legitimate MVP candidate? Get ready for it. Your Friday appearance, you may get it. Adam Schefter said no. There's lots of guys. Now, maybe can he play himself into it, blah, blah, blah. But he was saying Puka Nacua. He was listing all these guys ahead of Drake Maye, which I think was a stretch, honestly. And then the flip side was Brian Hoyer said, well, yeah, there's really only 2 candidates. It's Drake Maye and Baker Mayfield. And I'm like, that might be a stretch in the other direction. Find the middle ground. But a guy who in week 1, we were like, holy crap, he's not getting it. They're asking him to rein in too much. He's uncomfortable. He's not playing. He's thinking he's worried. Then the turnovers in the game against Pittsburgh. And you're like, is that who he is? Does he always turn the ball over at a critical juncture that will cost you a winnable game? And since then, he's been the opposite. Not only is he not making the mistakes, now he's started to make plays to set yourself up for a game-winning field goal, to stay out of trouble, to make a play down, whatever it is, and just the ridiculousness of his success on the deep balls. So I don't know if it's surprising, because I think a lot of us think he can be elite, but that it came this quickly after week 1 is probably a pretty big surprise.
I was going to ask you, and it's fine. We just jump right into it. The best part of Maye's development, and to me, it's been the mental aspect of it. It's learning from the mistakes and not repeating them. You talked about week 1 and how rough that looked. And then in week 3, where for large pockets of the game, he was excellent, making the right decisions, but the interception of the goal line, bad decision. The fumble, horrible decision. Protect it and then put it out there because you think you're going to flip a ball to Trevion Henderson, who's not even close to being open. I don't know how you're going to get it there. And then the next thing you know, the ball's on the ground and you lose the football game. And then contrast it with the tape this week against New Orleans, where he's in a similar situation and he protects the ball, turns his shoulders. And then guess what? He flips it to Trevion Henderson. But Trevion Henderson's wide open. And he knows, I've protected the ball now. I don't have anything coming this way, and I can do it. And he does it. And it's a 9-yard gain on first down when it looked like it was going to be a loss of 2 and you're going to be behind the sticks. So it's just those little things that are happening. His eyes, he's keeping his eyes up when pressure starts to happen. And there's been a ton the last 2 weeks. I know people have gotten all horny about the offensive line. Last couple of weeks, not so great. 43% to 48%, depending on which site you believe in terms of pressure. I had it lowered in the 43 range, but anything over 40 that's not good. Those are games you usually lose. And nope, here's the void. He got beat. I'm sliding into where the left guard got beat. I'm stepping up. Oh, my head's up. Oh, I see Kayshon Boutte one-on-one on the outside. I throw it to him in the end zone, and Kayshon Boutte catches a touchdown pass on a beautiful ball, and it was a beautiful catch. Kayshon fought his way through the entire route to catch that football. But it's those little things, that growth, that mental growth, they're trusting him with the ball more. Not that you can't trust the quarterback with the ball, but we see the Saints managed Spencer Rattler. They didn't want to have him have to cut it loose. We're fine with the checkdowns. And then when it came time to opening it up, it's well, this is where the men and the boys, they get separated. And Drake has handled all that stuff. So to me, it's been, I was worried. I think a lot of people, if you were being real, based on the first 3 weeks of the season, and I know Miami was awesome, but that's a bad football team. And you're we're going to live through this where it's going to be 14 picks a year and 6 fumbles. And 1 week he looks like the best thing in the world. And the next week you're what's happening? Why doesn't he see it? And he's seeing it and he's processing it. And it's a tribute to him first and foremost for learning as well as he does, but also Josh, the coaching staff, the plan that's in place has definitely worked.
Yeah. If you you mentioned the good decisions and the not being a error repeater, as they like to say, but also you can see just the drill work. Some of the pocket movement with two hands on the ball, hops forward, slides right is like, oh yeah, that's literally, there's bags there and you have to do it a certain way to fulfill your coach's, but it's literally transitioning a drill from the practice field to real game success, which I think is huge. And I said it the other day, and it's probably a little extreme under a short window of time here, but Drake Maye now looks like the good Josh Allen that we thought he could be. And Josh Allen looks like rookie year Drake Maye. Like the last couple of weeks, Josh Allen hasn't been MVP Josh Allen, particularly last week with the turnovers and the weird flip when he probably could have just thrown it and some of those things. So again, short window. And I always talk to my buddy Ted Johnson, like, we all lived through Drew Bledsoe various seasons where 4 games, 6 games, maybe even 8 games. Oh my God, he's the best quarterback in football. He's going to win the MVP. And then turnovers, interceptions, forced balls, losses. And you're like, wow, that fell apart really quickly over the course of a month. I don't think that's coming with Drake Maye because I think he's an evolving young player who is banking experience. And as you mentioned, I get into a fight with my guy, Chris Scheim on the Greg Hill show about this.
Yes.
I think Josh McDaniels is a great quarterback whisperer. And now we have this other role that I'll throw out there because they seem to want to throw this name out there, Ashton Grant, who I asked Drake about, and he kind of described him as a ball buster, like he kind of busts my chops about certain things. And I think we haven't had that in New England a lot over the years, that next layer of coaching. And for a young quarterback, that comfortable ball busting, or I can almost guarantee you, or I hope it's this way, that Drake Maye can go to Ashton Grant and go, why is Josh being such a douche today? You know, like, and having that and not having to go home and talk to his wife about why Josh is being a douche, because Josh is also the quarterback's coach and he doesn't have a quarterback's coach to call the OC a douche to. I think that in a developmental way can be important to him. So yeah, I don't expect the wheels to fall off, but I also didn't expect it to be this good this fast.
Yeah, I would say the growth is never linear, right? You don't just go from here to here. There's going to be little valleys in this thing. And we had a valley in week 1. We had a valley in week 3. Will there be a valley coming up? You know, they're going to face some, on paper, good defenses in Cleveland next weekend. Atlanta's defense is, even though I don't love it, is pretty highly rated DVOA wise. Tampa's secondary is not so great, but their front can get after you. So like he'll face some things here where there's be some challenges. And if there is a slight step back, I'm not going to panic about it because if he continues to stack, I think it's going to be just fine. Before we get to our next thing, I got to talk to you about the #1 daily fantasy sports app in North America, and that is PrizePicks. Just an absolutely outstanding way. Even if you're not into fantasy sports, they make it so easy to do. You pick 2 players up to 6, more or less on their statistical projections, which can be manipulated. They give you goblins and devils, and you can go back and forth, and it's this whole thing to better your odds, if you will. And you can cross sports, which I absolutely love. We got baseball playoffs going on right now, but there's also football, tennis, whatever, soccer, whatever you're into. You can check it, you can combine it, and then you can win up to 1,000 times your cash. So just download the app today. Use the code CLNS to get $50 in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the app. Use the code CLNS to get $50 in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. Again, this episode brought to you by PrizePicks. You and I make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right, get you paid. Don't miss on the excitement this football season on PrizePicks, where it is good to be right. All right, this one's a little off the board for you, Andy, but we're talking about Ashton Grant, and it got me to thinking about what is the best hire that Mike Vrabel made to his coaching supporting staff. And I know it's like a kind of a deep thing, and I'll give you mine while you think of this one. I'll give you mine. It's John Stryker. This guy has his fingerprints on every single aspect of the football team, from roster build to game day clock management. He's the guy who's in Vrabel's ear. If you've noticed, all of a sudden, for the first time in a number of years, the Patriots seem to have an edge on the sidelines. It's largely coming from the guy upstairs, John Stryker, who was with Mike Vrabel in Tennessee, went to LA this past year when Vrabel was out of football, worked for Sean McVay. McVay loved him, was loath to let him go, but obviously not going to keep the 2 guys apart. Stryker's going to be a GM in this league if that's what he wants. Although, you know, who knows? Maybe he's one of these guys that he likes this aspect of it. But calling down when to challenge, when not to challenge, like that's all coming from him. And I think his addition has been phenomenal. And it's, as I mentioned, it's something that the Patriots haven't had since Ernie Adams.
So that's a good answer. Obviously, we had heard about his impressive nature. I think you had a little more firsthand knowledge of it. And I was told immediately when he arrived, he was a combination of Bears Nigerian and Ernie Adams, like this unique, for our comparison purposes here in New England. And I think the biggest thing there is just the relationship, the trust, you can turn to him, and what he says is basically like Vrabel saying the same thing. And if he talks to somebody, it's very Vrabel's message, vice versa. So I have two options to go with here. One I won't, because I'll have a snarky comment about it. I would like to say Josh McDaniels, but I don't know if he hired Josh McDaniels, and that was a bad thing at one point where it was a forced marriage that wasn't going to work, and he's taking shots at him in week one. Just run the damn football. Don't check out of everything, blah, blah, blah.
He still won't give him any credit. Anytime he gets asked a softball question, you just say, hey, Josh has been awesome. He talks about Thomas Brown, Todd Downing, Ashton Grant.
You want me to tell you what my theory is on that real quick? My theory is similar to he's been kind of limited in his credit of Drake Maye. It's almost like he's been more crediting of Andy Borregales and all these guys that are getting game balls and support through their up and downs and tough times and develop. I think he came here because he knew Drake Maye was a stud. And he's not going to start, excuse the word, blowing Drake Maye for like stuff that he expects him to do. I feel like Drake Maye is going to get the real credit when we win a road playoff game and you put the team on your, because he expects you to be good. He expects you to play at a high level, and he wouldn't have taken the job, I don't think, if you sucked and he was surprised that you could be good.
Yeah, right? You and I share a brain on this thing. I think that the two people that he's been toughest on in the entire organization are the quarterback and the offensive coordinator. And Mike has had a thing. You talk to anybody. I remember even covering Tennessee when I worked at the NFL Network, talk to Derrick Henry, talk to Ryan Tannehill off to the side, and they'd be like he, for his best players, he always wants more. He always thinks like, if you don't play your best, then you kind of not owe me, but like, hey, that third down play, what the hell were you thinking? Hey, on that fourth down, when you ran for 2, there was 7 yards available. You should have gotten 7. Like that's just how his brain works for those guys. Whereas if he's coaching Dr. Gibby, Jack Gibson, or Christian Ellis, or whomever, it's like, well, I mean, he's a nice player, but he's not my best player. So like, there's going to be some of these things where he doesn't succeed, and I'm going to keep propping him up because I need him. I need him to make some of these plays, but I don't expect him to make all the plays. I expect Drake to make all the plays, and therefore he expects Josh to put him in the right position to make all the plays.
Yeah, I always use the classic example of you got 2 kids. The A student comes home with a B, and you're like, what the hell's going on here? Did you slack off? The C student comes home with a B, and it's like, hey, you want to go get dinner? Nice job. You worked hard on, and that's the A students are Drake Maye and Josh McDaniels. Yep. He's not going to fluff them for early season expected success. He will give them, I think, their bouquets when they reach the real high level that he expects them to reach. But my answer is a guy that one of our texters came up with a nice nickname for, a guy that's been, I'll use the phrase jerked around, but not in a bad way, but kind of a good way. Zach Hardcore, your play caller on defense. Because of the issues with Williams and the health issues, and it's nobody's fault, obviously. It's things have not played out the way they were originally designed. And Zach Core, to me, in the spring stepped up, then he stepped back. And then when he had to step up again, he stepped up again. And the defense has been, once Gonzo has gotten back, I think you're seeing a defense that's playing itself into what we expect it to be, a pretty good defense. That now there's been some evolution in terms of blitz happy under Williams early in the year. Zach Core not really doing that as much. Where does that go? But I just and he's stepped up to the microphone like he's done a lot of, for a young guy, a lot of press conferences that could go sideways. Hell, we saw Gerard Mayo, who was supposedly like this great leader and talker, go sideways in press conferences. So I think Zach Core, for, as I said, sort of the elevation in role, then back and then back up again. Like, he's basically done whatever they've asked him to do at a high level. And I don't think that's easy. I don't think that's, in a world of egos and aspirations and careers. And I think he has been really, really good. So I give Vrabes credit for that.
Biggest disappointment?
Oh, that's easy. I'll answer it in 2 ways because it's a group and a player. And the group is the running back group. who I can remember leaving August, and most people are like, the running back group might be the best group on the team, the best position. Ramondre Stevenson's back. He had that one fumble in the stadium practice, but we're not going to assume he fumbles. He's back, baby. And Antonio Gibson looks good. He's returning kicks. He's making plays. Oh, my God, Travion Henderson is a revelation. And they haven't obviously lived up to that, the fumbling issues, whatever. And then Travion Henderson as an individual, for me, is the most disappointing player on the team. I drank the Kool-Aid way too early on him. Started thinking and, hearing people talk about offensive rookie of the year, explosive, the kick return. Ted Johnson's guaranteeing me Henderson's going to score on a 30-plus yard swing pass or wheel route. I guarantee it. He's this, he's that. He's none of it. In fact, he's not even what he was guaranteed to be, which was one of the best young pass protectors you'll ever see coming into the league, and that's why he'll be able to play. Nope, it's the opposite. They're afraid to put him out there, so much so that when Ramondre fumbles, they have to put him right back out there for pass protection. And now you get in this weird world of like, I don't really want Ramondre with the ball, but when he releases, if Drake sees him, am I going to tell Drake, don't throw to him? So are we playing with 10 players on the field all because Travion Henderson can't freaking figure out who to block or block him? Now, I do think he got screwed on one of those holding calls. I didn't love it. I thought he drove a guy into the ground, but whatever. So, yeah, Travion Henderson has run tentative. Has he maximized a single play yet, like an explosive type play? And maybe it's not all on him. I know some people want to criticize Josh for too many inside runs, get him on the edges, do different things, pull and pin, as my guy Ted likes to say every time he brings him up. But Travion Henderson, for what we quickly were expecting, has done absolutely nothing.
I'll give you a quick one. It's Keon White. I thought that this coaching staff would unlock the best of Keon White. They talk about, and they still talk about, playing violently. That's something that he has in his bag, but it just has not come together. He got lost pretty early in training camp. And when he's been out there, when he's not been hurt in the regular season, it's looked bad. He's been on the ground. He's blown edges. Like, it just, I don't know what's going on there. I don't know if we overrated the potential of the player because of some of the flash plays that he made in his first 2 seasons in the league, and certainly the first 2 games of last year. But yeah, nothing close to what I expected. And yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he's not long for the football team. Like, that's just kind of how I feel about that. Let's just rip through. I've kept you already longer than I said I was going to. Let's just rip through. We're going to give grades to the rookie class. Let's start with the first round pick, Will Campbell. And just remember, when you're giving grades, a C is average. Average. So anything above a C is, well, I'm just letting you know, because somebody look at my grades and be like, whoa, just a C is an average player. Will
Campbell. I was a Will Campbell defender. I had to fight Ted Johnson in his short arm, small hands talk for months upon months upon months. So therefore, I am going to give Will Campbell the old YMCA. I'm giving him an A, baby, because we all remember how bad left tackle has been for the better part of multiple years. And you may be right. I'm probably over grading him, giving him the Harvard A credit for something he didn't. Well, like, once he got to the position, it's almost like I'm giving him credit for just being there and not sucking. And I am. I'm giving him credit for being there and not sucking. I also see the athleticism that has me intrigued as to where he can go. When you get him in space, sometimes it's like he's the better athlete in the matchups that he shouldn't be the better athlete, if that makes any sense. And I know it's not been perfect. And who knows, maybe in a dream scenario, he still goes to guard and you have like this really great tandem. But I think you have a Pro Bowl caliber offensive lineman right out the gates at a position where there was no fallback plan. You put him there and there's no one else you want to see there. He's stayed healthy. He's played good enough for you to have a developing superstar quarterback and offense that's making plays. So Will Campbell gets the old Andy Hart easy A.
I wish I had you as a teacher or professor. I give him a B, and I think that's been good. I think he's been good. He's been better than I thought he was going to be. It's been less roller coastery than I thought it was going to be. He's had his moments. Fourth quarter against the Raiders. Nate Herbig tortured him a number of times in the Steelers game. And even this past week, and again, this is why you can take, I'm with TJ Watt. You can take the PFF grades and you can launch them into the sun, because their grades versus what's actually on the tape, I don't know how they tell you it's this good when it's not. I'm not saying it was bad. I'm just saying there were some reps there where he got his ass kicked and it caused problems. as I mentioned, the 43% pressure rate that I had, it came off everybody at various points. So it wasn't just one guy having a terrible day, but he was one of the people that struggled a little bit. But I think a B is pretty good. You mentioned Trevion Henderson. I give him a C minus, same thing, below average, expecting him to be better than he's been. Not writing him off by any stretch of the imagination, but between their struggles running the football in general, and then the game appears to be too fast for him right now, I think a C minus is fair.
Yeah, I went D. I think in a different year, different depth, different makeup, he might be one of those guys that had a stretch of healthy inactives, but they can't do that. They don't have the depth. They can't. So, but yeah, just the disappointment with him is real. And part of that maybe again is on us. Maybe we got a little too far ahead of ourselves, but he's done nothing.
Yeah, vanilla preseason. We always like, and I'm guilty as this as anyone because I was right there with the hype train. But like in the preseason, the scheme is just play the guy in front of you, right? Like we're just going to do basic stuff. And now that it's complicated, it changes his focus and maybe has his brain speeding up a little bit. How about Kyle Williams, the 3rd round pick?
I went C minus. Again, he's done nothing, and the hype train got a little bit, and people were telling me, I'll be honest, I never really saw it. I've never really been on the hype train for him. And yes, now we're settling into Diggs is good, Booty is good. You're setting into a rotation. Matt Collins does what he do as a complimentary guy. Yes. But we forget along the way there were a lot of opportunities that if you could prove yourself, you probably would inject yourself more into the conversation than he has. And then we've had these little not on the same page moments when he has gotten some opportunities, a crossing route where he doesn't seem to know what the hell he's supposed to be doing. And the one thing I will say is our guy Mike Reese has been pretty upbeat that there is like a breakout coming. So that tells me internally that somebody's telling him they feel like there could be a breakout coming. So the fact that he's active and he is getting little nuggets of playing time is, I guess, good, but he's not even up to average using your grading system as a young player. So I would go C minus, and I'm not sure I expect the breakout to come.
You're going to be surprised by this. I give him a B minus.
Whoa!
I think when he's been out on the field, and there was the miscommunication, my boss thought it was Drake's fault. I thought it was Kyle's fault. Whatever, drew the penalty. Back-to-back weeks where he's thrown a good block for Pop Douglas on a little swing screen. Caught the balls that have come in his direction. He's not getting a ton of reps. We're talking about 10, 11 plays a game, basically. But when he's been out there, he's done the love of the route game, where he clears out for people. He's been open. He was open a couple times against Buffalo on deep shots where because of pressure, they weren't able to get him the football. Like the throws one of them didn't even get thrown, and one of them ended up being a check down because all hell was breaking loose. But I think I wrote about him last week. I think it's coming too. We talked to Josh McDaniels on Thursday. He likes what he's seeing. I mean, not that he's going to sit there and say, hey, he sucks and we can't play him, but like he wouldn't be getting 10 or 11 snaps if he didn't think like he was doing what he's supposed to be doing when he's supposed to be doing it. Like they wouldn't have tolerated that. So I give him a better grade than he thought. How about Jared Wilson, the other 3rd round pick?
This was a tough one for me.
Me too.
Throwing a lot into it. I landed on B minus, and he's a guy that first I give him credit for. He won the job.
Yeah.
Will Campbell didn't win his job. Jared Wilson won the job. They had other plans, other guy, Cole Strange. My guy Ted Johnson got mad at me when I interviewed him and asked him if he was at a career crossroads, and it ended up he was. He went from slotted in as the starting left guard to not on this team and now bouncing around to a few different teams. And so therefore I give Jared Wilson credit for winning a job, like beating out veterans and being the best option. He has not been a train wreck. Again, my guy Ted Johnson said, wait, they're going to start 2 rookies on that side. His first word was feast. We need to feast if we're a defensive. I don't think defenses have necessarily feasted. There's been times where it looked like 2 rookies and it was like, yeah, I'm going to pass him. I passed him off. You didn't. Wait, that didn't.
No.
Yeah, that didn't work out right. And some of that's on Campbell. Some of that's on Wilson. I'm sure there's some stuff there. But I think he's been competitively good. The one thing that I would downgrade him a little bit for maybe is I think the line has been like he was out that 1 week. Ben Brown stepped in and it was fine. So now I'm starting to think like Doug Marrone. you get a lot of credit here because you're doing Scar-like things where guys just step in, rookie, not a rookie, veteran, and we don't really have the wheels fall off. But I gave Wilson a B-.
I went C plus again, above average. Well, above average, right? Like
Yeah.
it hasn't been awesome at times. He was the weak link against Vegas. I thought he struggled last week, but in between, there's been some really good play. And to your point is a valid one. He won the job over veterans, and he did it quickly. And he's held his own. He's been good. I would love to see him because I think I know he's athletic. He struggled at times getting to the second level, and I don't know. I mean, not every play is the same, but sometimes it just feels like he's just a tick slow getting out there. And whether that's just his brain reacting and it's not quite up to the NFL speed all the time, or if that's just a footwork thing or whatever. But like some of these runs that have gone for 3 yards that could go for 8, it's because a lot of times they're not getting to the second level or falling off blocks at the second level. And that would be like a nitpick, but generally I think it's been good.
And just remember, for that cockamamie philosophy that Kirby Smart had, he doesn't have a lot of experience.
No.
And I think what you're talking about, some of that, you have to have experience. Like just the feel of what's going on, and like a quarterback, a wide receiver, like there's so many different things where I think experience matters. And as a young player who everybody sold us on more athlete than he is finished offensive lineman, I think that's going to evolve. And I think once his head catches up with his physical abilities, you may have a really good player there.
I would agree. Let's go to the 4th round pick, Craig Woodson, who got his way into the starting lineup in the summer and has been there ever since.
Yeah, I was dubious of this whole idea of the eraser, and he hasn't necessarily always been the eraser. There's been times where early in the year in particular, I thought he was part of some of the missed tackles and some of the issues they had, but he's been out there every week. He's is he top 2 or 3 in tackles? I don't know exactly where he is on their team chart. I think he's been really good. I think he has been maybe not quite as good as his reputation bought him early in the year, but as you said, I'll do it similar to Jared Wilson. I think he won the job. He won the job over veteran, better players. I mean, you had somewhere in the range of like, I don't know, $90 million worth of safety back there that they had paid, and one guy they let go, and one guy is a backup in part because of Woodson and how good he is and how he's been up to speed. And I'm guessing everything they tell us about him being smart and football IQ and all those things is a part of that. He's also a pretty good player. He's also a very good player. So I gave him an A. I think expectation as a day 3 pick, you come right in and you're starting for a defense that I think is good at a position where I wasn't sure how it would fit, but I didn't think it would be Woodson and Hawkins as your 2 safeties back there when you have your preferred lineup. So absolute A from me.
I have him as a B-, but I think the grade is rising. Well, I think the grade is rising. He struggled in Miami, struggled against Pittsburgh, and I think he's coming on now. The last couple of games in particular, like he was a beast in the run game this past week, like filling gaps and taking on guards and just like badass, well-timed blitz from depth. Like he's been in the right place generally. Now I think we're seeing him in the right place, but in the right place sooner, which means more plays, which is why I think we do this again in 2 months. I might be saying I'm an easy grader like Andy, and he gets an A. Joshua Farmer.
So he's an interesting one because, again, day 3 pick. I'll give you credit for being on the roster, getting on the field, especially at a position where they have heavily invested depth and talent and money and all of that. Give you demerits for doing stupid things and getting costly penalties in limited playing time. So I'm going to give him a C. I think for where he was drafted, what he is doing, what he is facing, what he has brought, kind of put that all into a pot, mix it all up. That's a nice average young player. C.
B. I think he has been impactful. Yes, that penalty was a bad one in Buffalo.
The worst.
However, he shows up on he's not playing a ton of snaps. We're not talking about 30 snaps here. We're talking about a dozen snaps or so. He shows up 2 or 3 times with a positive play, with a penetrating play, tackle for loss, quarterback pressure. Like when they drafted him, I liked his profile, but I was like, he's going to be a rotational piece. Like 4th round pick. If he's a rotational defensive tackle for you over the course of his rookie contract, awesome. I now begin to think that he might be better than that. And again, we haven't seen the full McGilla. He hasn't had to play 45 snaps in a game. That may change his energy and overall production, but what he's given you when he's been out there has been really good. I like that player. I like him a lot. Braden Swinson gets an incomplete, right? Get cut. He's on the practice squad.
Yep.
Getting praise from Mike Smith about what he's doing behind the scenes, but okay, whatever. I don't even like, if we spend more than 30 seconds on this, I'm going to be mad at us. I'm just looping them together. Special teamers, Andres Borregales, Andy Borregales, and Julian Ashby.
I would say, well, now that you loop them together, I got to give them the same grade, because I actually had an A for Ashby because I don't think he screwed really anything up. And I had a B for Borregales because he missed a couple PATs and tends to miss the landing zone occasionally in interesting spots, sometimes even getting a game ball when he did miss the landing zone. But he's also, 8 of 9, I believe, on his field goals, which is really what you're going to make your money with. I mean, I guess we can look at as this evolves, the whole landing zone thing, but you're going to make your money making your field goals in key spots to win games like in Buffalo or wherever it may end up being. So I think he's a B to a B plus based on. Also, I don't know. No, I'm back down to B minus. Sorry, talking out loud here. Well, he didn't win the job, so I got to factor that in. He got the job, but he didn't win the job.
Yeah, this is true. Parker Romo was the more accurate kicker in the preseason, but it was pretty clear if it was close, it was going to go to the draft pick. It did.
Yeah.
I give him a lot of credit for bouncing back. He's had some moments. Also, can you just hit the friggin' landing zone? Like, just hit the landing zone. And Jeremy Springer was talking about it yesterday, the special teams coach. We try to do a couple a game, and it's a real benefit when you land them in the landing zone, because it is difficult to block, and it is difficult to set up, because you just don't know which way the ball is going to bounce when it hits the ground. But he's not been nearly as accurate as he needs to be on those moments. And when you sacrifice that, you put a team on the 40-yard line. Like, I actually think that they've gone overboard with the whole kicking thing. Like, now it's too much a part of the game. They took it out and now they brought it back in, but they've overcorrected. And now it's like starting at the 40-yard line is asinine, because you missed the landing zone by 2 yards. So, like, I don't know. They got to come up with something better to make this work. And by the way, only one kick return for a touchdown this year for the entire league. And that was Antonio Gibson's.
Yep.
So whether that's, as Phil Perry was asking Springer, is that a statistical anomaly, or is that because teams are seeing things? He's like, no, because it's really hard to block this. They got a 5-yard head start. They're all really good athletes. You're standing there waiting with your, like, it's more difficult than people think it is. And so I think that's kind of led to it. I'm not giving him a grade because hey, look, you know how I feel about special teamers, place kickers, punters. I don't want to hear you. I don't want to see you. I just want you to do your job. That's it. That's all I want.
Wow.
It's just facts.
That's an incredible lack of respect for specialists like, Adam Vinatieri and
hunters
are
like people. What? That's a different animal.
He's a kicker. So's Andy Borregales.
You start making game-winning Super Bowl kicks or snowball kicks, then I'll talk about you. Till then, you're over here. My brain cannot be bothered with you.
He doesn't get to decide what the kick is. He's just on the team, and he goes out there and kicks when they need him to kick. That was as disrespectful as Joe Mazzulla to the Boston basketball media, the way you just handled that.
That's fine. I don't care. Punters are people too. I don't know. It's debatable.
Yeah, I'm a little more down on the punters. And this is a quick side. You just made me think of this with the kicker analysis. It is a little bit weird that now a kicker's job is to hit the ball perfectly to kick a 58-yard field goal. Because suddenly it's not good enough if you hit from like 48. You got to hit from like 58 now. But then I also need you to skillfully mishit the ball properly to have a weird kick. It's a very interesting dynamic they face in terms of how they're striking the football and what they're asked to do. They're
making them earn their money.
Okay, you know what they're earning their money is? When there's a blizzard out there, putting it through the uprights. When, John Madden doesn't think you should even try to score, splitting the uprights. Like, there's a lot of pressure that goes into that job. I can't believe I'm defending kickers.
I love the way this just turned. This is fantastic.
The hardo of all hardos is suddenly defending kickers.
Should we clip this and send it to Pat McAfee so you can be a Pat McAfee honk?
No, thank you. Not a big fan.
Do you have anything else you want to share before we say goodbye?
No, I'm enjoying this ride. I'm very much enjoying this football season, and I haven't said that for a while. It has been I think you go back years because we had to deal even with like, I'm the most miserable 8-0 quarterback in the history of football. Like people think this is just a Mac Jones era thing or Gerard Mayo era thing, or even Bill. Like this was an extended era in New England of not fun. And I always tell Fitzy this when I'm doing things with him, like, my first rule of professional sports is entertain me. Like I'm giving you 3 hours of my day, or if I'm a fan, I'm giving you 8 hours driving to the game, tailgating, buying, spending all this money. Entertain me. I get that you have to compete for a title, but entertain me first. And this football team through 6 weeks, very entertaining. And like this is an enjoyable 6-week experience. And I'm going to hope that continues throughout, even if they miss the playoffs, even if it peters out and it goes sideways. This is kind of a fun year, and it's just fun not thinking about, hey, did you watch college football this weekend to see who they're going to draft with the 4th overall pick and all? No. You know what I'm focused on? The gosh darn path to the playoffs that people used to tell me was real, is now real.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's after watching them be so inept in so many levels, and like just me, transitioning to writing full time and covering it that way, like the last couple of years, it's been less about the football stuff, especially last year with Mayo. Like Gerard Mayo was guaranteed 3 columns a week because he would say something stupid in the post game, then he would either correct it on Monday or stand by it, then walk it back on Wednesday. So it'd be like, dun, dun, dun. I'm like, I don't want to write about what he's saying and stepping in it or being completely wrong about what he's saying. I want to write about, hey, look at what they're doing defensively, and like they're getting this or that, or like, hey, this player's really rising. The last couple of years, it's been like, what? Like seriously, what? Like all right. We spent the entire Belichick's last season debating whether he was going to get fired or not, who they should replace him, and then what should they do in the draft? Like that was literally 3 or 4 months of content, just consistently. That's what we did until they fired him, and then moved on to the next era. And then this last era was an era, completely, totally unwatchable football team, unlikable football team, like just a disaster. And now you have this energy and a level of professionalism, and you have a quarterback coming into his own, and it's like, okay, like Sundays are now appointment TV again when they weren't for the last couple of years.
And then along those lines, years like the talent just wasn't there. There was no talent on this team where, whether it was, I always do the jersey example. Like if your kid wants a Patriots jersey for Christmas, who are you going to buy him? And then you're like, I don't really want to buy any of these because it's going to be out of date within a year or two. Or the sort of expansion draft idea. Like we did that last year. Like if you were going to protect 10 guys on the Patriots and you got to like 3 and you're like, I don't really care about the rest. Now you actually you're like, wait, I got a cornerback, a left tackle, a quarterback. Do I have a number 1 wide receiver who has more left in the tank than I thought he had left in the tank? We got 2 defensive tackles. I'm kind of falling in love with this middle linebacker tackle machine. Like you have important guys that are fun to watch play. And you're like, God, I hope that guy doesn't get hurt. No one cared who got hurt in recent years because you were going to suck with him or suck without him. So who cared?
And to think that they're still a full off season away from actually doing what they want fully with the roster and turning it over the way they want. He is Andy Hart, of course.
Real quick. Sorry, don't mean to interrupt, but real quick, also throwing out there, I hate doing this, wagging my finger at people, but we've taken some calls, and I don't want to hear the bitching and moaning about, oh no, are they going to pay Gonzo? Are they going to pay, May? I love the fact that we have guys that are in line for, in Gonzo's case, $130 or $40 million. In May's case, $500 million or whatever
Right.
it's going to be.
Yep.
No. We bitched they weren't drafting guys to re-sign on first-round contracts. I'm not going to bitch about worrying about the money to re-sign the guys that are clearly worthy of those contracts. Just enjoy the ride, and Robert and Jonathan do the right thing. Pay them.
Yeah. You're paying them assuming they continue to play at the level that they're capable of. Right.
Yes.
So, and that's like this team. We're talking about this team and enjoying the way this team is played. Like, okay, keep it going. Like now like I said, you changed my expectation. Now keep it going. And again, I don't expect it to be a smooth ride, but like things are different in my brain when I look at this football team because of what they've done through the first 6 weeks. He is Andy Hart. He is host of the afternoon show on WEEI 2 to 6. I will be appearing. This is Friday. I will be appearing with him later, sooner. Yeah. The man, Andy Hart. And a reminder for those listening to the show, we ask you to subscribe to the podcast, like, and leave a 5-star review because of course you want to. And for those watching the show on CLNS, go ahead, hit the like button, subscribe to the Patriots Press Pass YouTube channel where you can find our show and a lot of other great Patriots content. Also, please make sure to turn on your notifications so you know when a new video drops. Andy, I appreciate you. We'll talk to you later. You people, we'll talk to you on Monday when I do Andrew Callahan's pod as we review the game that happened on Sunday. And then I'll be back here on Tuesday with something wonderful, I'm sure. All right, Andy, see you.
See ya.